Hi, this is Wendy Barlow from Cohen, Tucker, and Ades. Today we're going to talk about reentry permits. What are they and why would you need one? So, a reentry permit is a document that allows you to remain outside the US for an extended period of time and show immigration that you don't have an intent to abandon your residence. It's for green card holders. As a green card holder or lawful permanent resident, there's an expectation that you will actually live in the US, not just come and visit for a few days, a few weeks of a given year, and go back to your home country or a country where you may have a job. If you stay outside the US for more than a year or more in a single trip, you are presumed to have abandoned your residence. That means you will potentially lose your residence. You could be placed in removal proceedings, detained, and have to convince an immigration judge that you did not abandon your residence, or opt to, you can relinquish your residence at that time. The immigration judge will make a decision whether or not you abandoned or not. And from there, if they find you didn't abandon your residence, you'll get to stay a permanent resident. If they do, you will be ordered removed from the US. I know a year or more is the big mark to look for, but it's not as clear cut as that. If you're staying outside the US for extended periods of time, for example, let's say you have a job outside the US and you're working and you come to the US every few months for a few days and then you leave and go back to work wherever that job may be outside the country, that can trigger a problem as well because you have actually more ties outside the US. So this is where a reentry permit can come in handy. There's a lot of valid reasons someone may need to be outside the US for an extended period of time or not come into the US very often as a resident. Some examples, you're waiting for a spouse or other family to immigrate, so you're together or you're helping take care of a family member. You have a sick parent overseas that you're trying to help navigate the healthcare system, make sure they're doing well. You have a job where you're trying to wind things down or transfer to a position here in the US, or you're almost near retirement and you just want to finish out those last years so you can get your pension. So there's many reasons and these are just some. So what happens is if you know in advance that I'm going to need to leave and I'm going to have to be out of the country for an extended period, or in any given year I'm going to be spending a significant amount of time outside the country, it's advisable to get a reentry permit. What a reentry permit does is it tells the government, I intend to return. I am not abandoning my residence. I need to be outside the US for an extended period of time, but I will be back to live permanently. That this is just essentially a temporary situation. Now, for a reentry permit, you have to apply before you leave the US. This is not something you can apply after you're outside the US. You have to be here. You have to file the application with the appropriate filing fee. You'll have to attend a biometrics appointment. But you don't have to remain in the US while waiting for the document. You can go ahead and travel as long as you've taken these steps first. And this eventually, processing times are very much in flux right now, but eventually you will likely be issued the document. The document will be sent to the address you provided. I do recommend that you use a mailing address in the US for a trusted family member or friend and have them send the document to you. Or the alternative would be to have the document sent to a consulate or embassy overseas. Do not just have it mailed to an address overseas that's inviting it to be lost. This document will be valid for up to 2 years. USCIS can shorten that period of time. During that period, before that expires, you need to return to the US. So you can come back for a few days every 6 months. You can stay outside the entire time and then come back a few days before it expires. I don't recommend waiting till the last day. And then if you still need to stay outside the US, you would have to apply for a new reentry permit. The government will eventually only give it in 1-year increments because, again, as a permanent resident, the expectation is you will live in the US. But the government does have some flexibility because they understand there's circumstances that may require you to live abroad for a period of time and at the same time not be anticipating abandoning your residence. When you file, you're going to need to fill out a form. Everything with immigration is a form. And then you're also going to have to provide supporting documents. So a copy of your green card, information about why you want to stay outside the US. Again, please make sure you have a attorney and or trusted family member or friend to use as an address because they can request more information. And if you're already outside the US, you may never get that notice. And if you don't respond, it will be denied for abandonment. Once you have your resident reentry permit, it kind of looks like a passport. It's just a different color. You will use that to when you return to the US. And it, like I said, is proof that you had intentions to remain a resident, not to abandon your residence. It's also good to still keep ties to the US because a reentry permit is not definitive, but it is given a lot of weight. If you've unfortunately already been outside the US and have realized that you're going to be delayed in returning, maybe you had an accident and you're needing medical treatment, or you were visiting a parent and they got a medical diagnosis that requires you to stay and care for them. Any other life instance happens and you're stuck outside the country for what's going to be a year or more, you cannot file for the reentry permit. There is a process for a returning resident or SB1 visa, which we will discuss in another video in the near future. If you have any questions about reentry permits, whether you should get one, please contact our office, Cohen, Tucker, and Ades. Our number is 212-840-0050. You can also email us at info@cohentuckerlaw.com. We're happy to set up a consultation with you to discuss your circumstances and whether this is necessary. If you have any concerns that you may need this, please talk to an attorney before you spend time outside the US. It's always better to be proactive than to be acting in a defensive manner. Hope you found this helpful. Again, if we can help you with this or any other immigration topic, please give us a call at 212-840-0050. Thank you. Have a great day.